And for Wednesday, the 15th, you're officially through the end of the month. Before I start going over the market movers, just a little advertisement here quickly. If you are interested to see what we're doing on a daily basis in terms of the value that we add on a daily basis, you can go to tribecatradegroup.com, put in your email address here. What this will get you is our end of day recaps, which you could see our watch list, how it's doing for the week. All of that is I use Bloomberg API, so it's all kind of marked to market, as well as what positions I'm holding, and that will also entitle you to our midday note, which will get you kind of more of a real-time feel. Because I do kind of put together a midday note that covers all the themes of the day and all the major movers as well, new 52-week highs and those types of things, as well as any charts that for new positions that I get into. So you can kind of see the logic behind that, which again just gives you a glimpse of what we're doing. It doesn't give you access to our trading room, but it does get you a feel for what we're doing on a day-to-day basis for free. So there you go. Let's get to the market action for the day. A little bit all over the place. It feels like some areas of the market are a little bit tired, and I think that's really normal for the month that we've had so far. And if you look at the month-to-date numbers at this point, these are some big numbers. You've got Qs up around 10% for the month. I mean, it's been these numbers could be almost like for the year, not even for, I mean, and we're only halfway through the month of November. So, we're going to talk a little bit about this in this video, just about being a little bit patient with this market at this point, right? When this market is moving so fast and there's so many movers, there's a little bit of FOMO because you can't be in every single stock. And, we've kind of went from the like chronologically, we started the month where it was kind of more of the same. Some of the leaders really started to kind of come to new highs or get very close to them and kind of break through those October highs at first, right? And that was the technology group, right? That was the first one that went. So XLK, which is dominated by Microsoft and Apple in that ETF, and then it was software, right? The IGV ETF. That also got above the October highs. Next were the semis, right? And that was towards the end of last week where they really excelled. I think Wednesday was the start of that, either Wednesday or Thursday. And then Friday, they had a huge day, right? So that kind of brought that group up. And then this week, off of the CPI report and the drop in bond yields, which we covered yesterday with the big move in TLT as well as the dollar, then you started to see those small caps get going. So again, we've kind of seen this, day by day, and as I mentioned in yesterday's video, I was surprised that you didn't really see much rotation. Like the Qs still did very well yesterday, and now you kind of, now you saw more of the really high speculation, high short interest type names. Look at what dominated for the day. I think you had ARK up again today, and you had some other areas, like retail, which has been kind of an underperformer too, as well as the crypto group had some good returns today. But what I'm getting at is that we've just seen this day by day, a little bit of different areas outperform. Now, if I was guessing, and I don't really like to do that, but it kind of feels like, okay, we've gone through this kind of life cycle of different areas of the market outperforming and doing well in terms of participation, right? We've seen a lot of names hit 52-week highs. Now it does seem logical, at least from my standpoint, to see a little bit of digestion, maybe a backing and filling. A lot of these index charts and as well as single stock charts left like gaps behind. So I'm not sure if those need to be filled, but it just seems logical after the Q's up about 10% for the month that we see a little bit of a break. But I don't have a crystal ball. I think watching the price action day to day gives us some clues and hints about what's going on. By the way, risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for video for information purposes only. All right, so we'll talk about some of these areas that did really well. First, I'll go through the indices. I don't think I've been doing that every day, but and the big story for like today that I kind of saw early was that TLT was going lower. Now, remember, TLT was up about 2.3% yesterday, right? Which is very good. And again, we're talking about the long end of the curve, right? We're not talking about what the Fed controls, which is the overnight rate. We're talking about long-term interest rates, right? And those have an impact, right? The title of the 20-year of TLT is the 20-year bond ETF, but it's really, I think it has a duration. Let's see, we can go right to Bloomberg. So this way I'm not giving you, I'm not making these things up, but the duration of TLT, I want to say is 18, it's 16 years, right? So that's what you have going on here, just so that you have some basis, right? And here's what TLT looks like, right? For me, of course, the more that TLT goes up, the more pressure it takes off equities, in my opinion, and equities can kind of do what they want to do, rather than kind of being hooked into what yields do every day. But for me, as long as this stays above 86.34, it's kind of game on for equities. They can kind of go back to more micro, more micro effects than macro. All right. Here's the dollar too, which had a huge day. This was better, by the way, right? In terms of, I think the dollar was down about 1.3% yesterday, right? Which is a decent move. And today it only came back, fractionally, right? So again, there's where the dollar is. So again, that's an overall good sign. All right, so that doesn't mean that equities go straight up. And you could see S&P futures, we might be glued to that version point of control a little bit, right? That's a big version point of control that's taken out from the October value area. So we might kind of stick around this level for a little while, maybe back and fill, let the 5-period moving averages kind of catch up. So my point here is, be patient with what's going on here. And as I was telling members today, I was like, well, I'm not, today, yesterday I was a net seller. Today I took more profits in the morning off of some trades. And again, it doesn't mean that you can't participate in anything new. Just do it reasonably, right? For instance, I saw a lot of people who were thrown off guard last Thursday with the reversal that we saw in the market. And, I told people, I'm like, well, you should only kind of be messing with smaller things right now because, up until that point, last week on Thursday, the market had made a really nice run. So, you got to be kind of, I hate the term like messing with house money, because that's still your money, by the way, right? It's not really house money. You're just profits. Like if you choose to kind of continue to trade actively after a big run, just really dial down your position size, right? You can kind of fool yourself a little bit, because if you're active and you like to have that muscle memory of trading, just do it on a much smaller basis. This way you're not giving back anything if the market tends to kind of move back. Anyway, and the other thing is just to go for a walk, right? And spend some time outside. But in any event, I try to give a little bit of strategy or where my head's at in these end of day videos. And here's the cues, right? Try to go higher today. I noticed this right in the beginning of the day. Don't forget, we had some big economics that came out this morning, but that was the telltale sign this morning, right? This was the 8:30 economics, right? It doesn't even matter so much what the economics are. I know everybody always wants the reason, but I think we're just a little bit exhausted to the upside. Right. And when you see this where the market tries to take that next leg higher and then reverses, like that was the high point of the pre-market. And everything for the remainder of the day was just a lower high in the Qs. Again, that's fine. We've been, like I said, you can't really be upset about at this point that the market wanting to cool off a little bit. So who knows? Maybe this, and look at how far we are extended away from the 5-period moving average. Let this come in a little bit, right? So, maybe that will wash some of the FOMO out, right? Also, it's an options expiration week. It's usually you'll see towards the end of the week, you'll see a little bit of volatility. Typically, again, I don't have a crystal ball. Nothing's 100% of the time, but that's typically what we get. We usually get one day of like decent volatility during the week of monthly options expiration, right? And here's the small caps, right? They started off really strong. They barely closed green. My opinion is they got rejected at the 200-day moving average. I was surprised that they were doing so well this morning because they were outperforming all the way till about 11 o'clock. And meanwhile, TLT was going down, right? And this is what TLT did for the day. So, it gave a great opportunity to say, hey, look at this, IWM up 1%, or whatever, or how much it was this morning. Like, don't be greedy. Take your profits when you see yields going higher like that. And there's no reason, for, in my opinion, that IWM should have been up that much, given that move in rates. But that's just my own opinion. All right. And in terms of Bitcoin, right, it was funny because I haven't really been doing too much with Bitcoin and crypto stocks, but I did mention in today's pre-market session, I said, hey, if you were looking for a dip to buy in Bitcoin, you kind of had it yesterday, and even where it was this morning, right, it gave you that opportunity. So if you've been waiting for that, or looking for some type of move to the downside, you certainly got that. Names like Coin, they're had a really nice day today. It was up over 6%. I think that 101 VPOC is going to get taken out. In my opinion, 101.69 is where that VPOC is. Of course, MSTR looks very close to Bitcoin. This always amazes me when people don't look to see what this name is. It holds Bitcoin, right? So people, I guess people like to trade this one because I don't know, maybe it's fun for them, but it should resemble very, very closely what Bitcoin is. So you can just trade Bitcoin. You don't have to trade the derivative, but I think people like it because it has a high short interest. But that's the story there. So I want to talk about the Chinese Internet Group for a minute, right? Now, of course, this rising a bit because of this meeting that's happening in San Francisco with Xi and Biden and company. And yeah, it's back above the 200-day moving average. Now, like any ETF, because this one's kind of sideways, here's what the weekly chart looks like. And by the way, it's better to look at some international stocks on a weekly chart because they're going to always be gappy. Why is the price action gappy, right, in KWEB? Well, because the majority of the stocks that are in the basket trade in China, which is overnight. I know this, most people know this, but I get questions, believe it or not, I get questions about this. Why are these China stocks so gappy? Because because you're looking at a basket of ADRs and some locals, right? And the ADR, the stocks trade overnight. So automatically when you come in, right, they're going to be up. And that's why I talked about PDD in yesterday's video and in the trading room. I'll get to that in just a second. But this is pretty sideways, right? Overall, if we go back to the weekly chart here, because again, it just kind of picks up the trend better, right? This still is kind of basing, right? Some people like stage analysis, right? So this is like stage 4, right? And now we've got stage 1. We've got a nice base working out. Who knows? This could be a big trade for next year, right? Considering we only have a month and a half to go of 2023. Look at the value area that's developing for next year, right? I talk about the slim value areas all the time. We gave a couple examples this week, right? Pulte Homes had a slim 1-hour value area. This is the slim value area for this year. So it could be that China could have a big outperformance if it gets above that value area. But again, we're talking about like next year. We're not talking about tomorrow. For now, what I tend to do is I pick out individual names that are doing well, right? Always go to the relative strength, right? LI Auto, which kind of sold off from the highs today, but we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I had a trade on about a week ago, which worked well. But look at the support there on the top of value, right? So that's one of the better names. And then I traded I added PDD yesterday, right? And that had a nice break of the value area. Again, notice where the majority of the price action is going to occur. It's happening in the overnight market. So it makes it really difficult, right? Because normally you would think, oh, I'm going to wait just to make sure it clears this, right? These China names, you can't really do that. What I always suggest, and again, I'm not giving advice, but what I always suggest with the China names is just take a smaller than normal position because of that overnight volatility that you have, because they trade basically while we're sleeping. All right, so that's that's where I kind of see that. JD also kind of helped a little bit. I mean, this for the most part, there's a lot of ugly charts in China. Right, a lot of names that are in downtrends. Again, doesn't mean that they can't bounce. Like JD was up 7% today, but that's a tough looking chart. One other name that's going to be interesting is tomorrow, NTES reports. That's another name that's been trending very well. Right, we had this in our Substack report about 2 weeks ago, I think, about NTES breaking its value area. So very, very nice there. moving on from the China names, the retail names did very well, right? And you've got your leaders in that group too. A&F, which is going to report, it's this week. This had another nice day, although toppy looking candle. That's got reports next week. AEO had a nice move. Shame on me. I was in this trade last week and I didn't have the patience to stay with it. I think I got shaken out on this day as a matter of fact, and I did not re-add. No, it was last week. So this was earlier. I think somewhere in here, I just decided to get out of the name because I saw some other more attractive setups. But look at the foot. By the way, this is sometimes what stocks do. They give this kind of false, shake them out type day, and then they rip to the upside, right? On the top of the value area. And sticking with Costco, sticking with retail, I knew I was going to Costco. And this is a really nice breakout, right? This is a name that I've been in long term. And a couple times, like I thought, oh, geez, it needs to get through this version point of control. I like the hop over this, right? And I think Costco is best in breed. It still has to take out that 605. But to me, I would rather be holding this company than other retailers. I think that they do a great job, management. They don't have to deal with the all the theft that stores are going on because you can't get into the store without showing your membership card. So they've got that problem figured out. And I just think it's a much better run company. So I really like this chart for the long term. I've been in it. I kind of weathered the storm for a little bit in this name, but really like what it's doing here. And what else did I want to talk about? A couple of the cyber names are selling off in the after hours. Palo Alto is down a bit, right? This has been well, look at it. It's coming back here quite nicely, actually. Took out one of these version point of controls. But again, like this is a group that's pretty hot, right? I actually reduced my position in Crowd. Now, Crowd's going to report earnings, I think, next week, but this hit upside targets. Right. This made it all the way. I mean, this is such a big move. So again, like I'm just trying to put things in perspective. Right. Look at this move from 149 to 204. Right. So I took my profits. Yes, I took some profits in my long-term account. I didn't take the whole thing out. I just took a target, right, in our TTG trend portfolio, which is for longer term, like swing type trend trading. So I reduced this position there, and I'll hold on to a little bit more to see if, it came very close to taking out that 210 VPOC. I thought it was close enough, and I also, my price target was 204. So that's why I took some of that name off. So, again, let's see if we see this group cool. And, and again, just to kind of, and this is where I'll kind of wrap up today's video, but there's nothing wrong with some groups going up to like their, a price target, and then chilling out for a little while, seeing some rotation or seeing some pause and letting, some names kind of regroup a little bit. All right, guys. So that's it for today's video. Overall, still very constructive, this market, but perfectly okay with, a little bit of digestion at this point. Guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.